we had some interesting news in the gaming world this week, which is putting it lightly, because there's a lot of stuff happening this week that I think shocked some people. One being the 2DS XL, and I know it shocked Shane because I was watching his stream. Okay, and they announced the 2DS XL, right? And I don't think you were looking at a computer or your phone or anything, were you, at the time when you were going on your like 3DS talk, or like, I guess, rant even?
I was basically saying that I would. There's no way that they're going to release more 3DS games and all that stuff and focus on that, because it would be suicide for them to do that. Then 2 seconds later, my entire chat just fills up with 2DS XL, 2DS XL, and I was like, what? And then I literally pulled the camera down from where I was and I dragged it over to my computer and I'm typing. It's like, bullshit. How could you do that? I was so shocked. I've never. Who announces a console at Thursday at 9 p.m.? Nintendo.
Well, it would have been
because a special edition of that just announced console the very next day at 8 a.m. Nintendo. Yeah. I am so shocked that happened. That is beyond anything I would have expected.
I will say, at least in Nintendo Japan, it was what that would have been Friday, like midday or something like that. So they're like 13 hours ahead. So actually, it would have been like 10, I guess, in the morning when they first get there for business, I assume. But I agree, it was kind of out of nowhere, right? I mean, it kind of popped up when I was, like I said, watching a stream, and it was like, oh, 2DS XL, and I click it, and then I hear you in the background start to say stuff about the 3DS and everything, and I'm like, oh, that's why I sent you that tweet, and I was like, 2DS XL, dude.
I think it's strange that they're still going by Japan time, because really the majority of their market exists outside of Japan. So if they're going to announce products, announce it when, the majority, like 80-70% of your market's paying attention. I don't know. That's just me. I'm a little bit old school like that, where you don't launch a TV show at like 4 a.m. because chances are people aren't going to see it unless it's Jerry Springer. But
yeah, well, yeah, that's you can DVR that and watch that all day. Phil, let me ask you, what do you think about the 2DS XL, man?
I was shocked when I saw it. I also heard about it on Twitter, and I checked out the trailer right away that they released, like the cool marketing. They always have like the coolest marketing trailers. I swear, I don't know where they find.
They're pretty good. They make you want to buy the item. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it makes sense. For me, I guess, for them to release something like this, because the Switch, it is $300. They're obviously going in at a lower price point here. But, the timing is a little weird, in my opinion. I'm not sure why they're doing it now. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't just do this at E3 or, during the holiday season. Like, why are they taking away from their E3 show, which is confusing to me. Yeah, I don't know. I do think that it's going to perform well. I'm personally going to get one. I'm going to try and get one on day one and try and do a review video for it and unboxing and all that stuff. But I think that, because I never had a new 3DS, so I'm assuming that this one plays like Xenosaga, right? Or Xenoblade, right? Xenoblade?
What's that? Oh, yeah. It's a new 2DS XL, so it is the new 3DS without the 3D feature. So
it's got the little nubbin nipple thing and the
stick, amiibo support, the whole 9 yards. Yep.
Right. Yeah. So like I just have a 3DS XL. So I would I'm interested in it. Even though I have a Switch, I'd love to go back and play some of those games on it while I wait for like the Switch version of Xenoblade. Why not?
Sure. Yeah. No, Evan, you saw this 2DS XL, didn't you?
Yeah, I looked into it a little bit. It seems all right, I guess. I know last time we talked about the possibility of a smaller Switch coming out, and then this drops as well. I don't know. With all that swirling around, it almost feels kind of like the DSi XL release, which was the year before the 3DS just decided to go. No,
yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yep.
So it just feels a little off, but at the same time, it works because it's Nintendo looking at the gimmick of 3D, and even though they did get like sued and lost over the technology, they were like, yeah, this isn't good, so we'll just get rid of it and we'll just have a powerful system, because that seems to be what everyone likes. It's going for they're going to be interested because it's different, to they just want something they can play powerful stuff on.
They did get you on that DSi though. On your DSi, because they made you trade in everything for it, didn't they?
But they showed all the demos that were interesting, the face tracking that they had planned and all that. It was really cool, and then they just didn't do it. and they were like, "Screw it, we're out." And here's a 3DS.
Can you tell the audience what you traded in towards your DSi?
You keep bringing this up because you were there for it.
I watched you do this.
It was basically, it was like Shadow of the Colossus. I had the Zone of the Ender series, all the Silent Hills, like everything. It was
all the PS2, and he traded his PS2 in too.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Towards the DSi, not the XL. It's just the DSi, right?
Yeah, it was when it got released, which we had to freaking buy from Walmart because they never actually shipped them to us. That was a fun day.
Yeah, but I think Nintendo's in a very weird place right now because they technically have 2 handheld units on the market, but they don't want to define one as a handheld. They want to define one as a console and one as a handheld when they're both clearly a handheld. So I assume the only way they think they can sell both is by making one way cheaper and one more expensive. Because we saw there was this this graphic that they put out. I guess that was like a survey for Switch users. How old are you? And I think it was like 80% were above the age of 19. So they must think that they can get the younger audience with something that's cheaper and clamshell, closes, something I guess they can get the moms to buy it. I assume Christmas time. There's more kid-friendly games on there than the Switch, and the Switch might be a little. It might be a little too much for maybe like a 6 or 7 year old as opposed to something like a 2DS. But that's all I can assume. Is that what do you think about that?
Yeah,
Shane?
but
or even Evan, go ahead. You can jump in. Evan.
But along the lines of the DSi XL becoming the 3DS, like. What if this was in the tube for a while? What if they were planning on it and getting it all together and building it, and then someone walked into the boardroom and was like, Switch Minis coming up in like a year from now, and they already have all these boxes of the 2DS XL, and they're just like, screw it, ship it. So it's going to be out there, and then it could happen that half a year from now they're going to announce like, oh, the 3DS stuff is, it's cool. Maybe we'll continue a little bit, but now we want really the Switch to be the handheld.
I can see Shane like halfway smiling about to say stuff.
I just hope nothing like that actually happens, because then they're the worst company in the world that doesn't know how to run things. Well, when I've worked at like large multi-million-dollar companies, and everyone in the company had an NDA. Everyone knew what was coming out, and you had to set your projects to make sure that stuff was going to come out on the release of that product. I've been in that industry, and I understand how that works. So if something like that happened where a guy came in and was like, oh, guys, are you going to release the 2DS? You better do it now because, we got the Switch Mini coming out and we can't line up 2 products against it. Really?
Somehow I'm picturing you with a monocle, top hat, and a cigar when you run into the door. I don't know why.
The 2DS, okay, like I think there's this, if for people that are watching that have seen me on Twitter, the 2DS, I'm not against the 2DS XL. I think that this product should have come out a long time ago.
Yes.
If you're going to sit down and you're going to buy a new 3DS or a new 2DS XL, you know what you should be getting? The 2DS XL. And you know why? Because the 3DS, a new 3DS costs more, and you don't get an AC adapter with it.
Yeah, that's true. You don't get a charge. It's the weirdest thing. I've always said this because we would sell these things at the stores, and then you have to explain to them that your electronic that you just bought for $200 does not come with a charger. So now you have to hand me another $15 to get the charger.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. I mean, it's still the same charger, obviously, they've used for forever, but it's still weird.
It was. I remember the first time when Nintendo did that, it was a really stupid thing. They said, well, obviously, people that bought the original 3DS are going to just be buying this new one and not sell it and keep the AC adapter. Really? That's not how that works. I take the old 3DS and I sell it to a store to help sponsor the purchase of that. So what ends up happening is I get this new 3DS, and now I don't have an AC adapter because there isn't a store on the planet that will take a 3DS without the AC adapter. They'll just look at you like, where did your AC adapter go? Or then they just cut out the price from your trading.
Right. They basically just buy an adapter with your trading credit. Yeah.
It just drove me nuts when they did that. The 2DS XL is a brilliant idea. Should have come out a long time ago. This is a fantastic thing. And you know what? To be fair, I never turn on that 3D feature. And I think a lot of people out there.
Day one 3DS turned it off.
Yeah,
that was
right. It tires your eyes out when you're playing games. And I think the 2DS is a far better concept of that. I could imagine the 3DS line selling so much better at this cheaper entry with the AC adapter built in and everything. And it was just this thing that everybody kind of drove to. Instead, I feel that like the original 2DS sold, I believe they shipped 5 million units.
For was that the 2DS?
Yeah, the original 2DS.
Yeah, it was. I think it was actually maybe a little. I think it was like in the. I think it was in the 3 millions. I think, unless I'm wrong.
Okay.
So it wasn't as good as some of their other ones, obviously.
Yeah, so it didn't sell well. So obviously they must have been scared by that. But I don't think people. I don't think people didn't buy the 2DS because it was a bad product. I think people didn't buy the 2DS because it looked like a cheese wedge.
Yeah, I do think the shape kind of was off-putting. The screens, the whole point of any of these ones they've brought out, the 2DS, the DS, well, the DS, 3DS, everything, is that the screens are protected when you close it, so it's safe to give to a child. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but the 2DS, because I've had to repair them, Evan's seen me have to do this, those 2 screens that are there are actually one screen.
It's one screen.
Those are not 2 screens. That's one screen that is split with that piece of plastic. So if you break one of them, they're all broken, and it's not worth repairing because the screens are like $40 because it's both screens. So now you have to go buy another one, whereas a 3DS screen is like $16.
But I mean, it's off-putting as the company though, because everyone praised them when they brought back the clamshell design from the Game & Watch type stuff because it's protective, because it's great for travel. And then they were like, here's this thing that it's gonna break. Enjoy, have fun with it. Like they forgot the hinge.
Yeah. The hinge, while it is not the most durable thing, still at least protects the plastic covered screens because it's all plastic. It's not glass. Like the Switch is plastic, it's not glass, so it does scratch easily, but at least doesn't crack, I guess. But I will say I do need to put over the look of the 2DS XL because I think it is probably the best looking handheld Nintendo's made so far. If I had to really go out on a limb with that, especially in the last, I'd say 10 years. It's a very nice looking system overall. I like the color scheme, and I do like the kind of that top texture look to it. So at least that looks better. I'll say that.
Could I ask one thing about its design? And maybe somebody that's in the chat might be able to answer this. Why is there a 3D camera on it that has it's got the 3D pictures?
It's I think if I had to guess, it might have something to do with their augmented reality system. If I had to take a guess, because they still want that to work, or just compatibility across.
It needs to be able to determine depth to do certain things.
Yeah, because the 2DS still had those 2 lenses on the back, if you remember that.
Because technically the Kinect is 2 cameras, right? It was like 2 mini ones next to the one.
It was something like that. I do remember the Kinect was just weird on its own, but it was either that or compatibility, because it technically can't take 3D pictures, but it still has 2 lenses on the back. That's all I can assume. Or
that makes sense, actually. That makes sense. Yeah. Now, I never even thought about that because I never used the AR functions on the cards or anything like that. Yeah.
That seems to be, if you go with all the people in VR, apparently augmented reality is like the future, past VR. It's like next gen VR, but the stuff they use obviously there is not anything like that. It's like, look at this card and something pops out of it, or look in the world and there's stuff there. So
still pretty cool though.
Oh no, it's a cool function. Obviously, something like that worked well in Pokemon Go because it's it was like a drug to everyone. So that worked well, obviously. But that's what we can assume there. Now, Philip, we pretty much shut you out, man. Do you have any other thoughts on the 2DS XL?
I think Shane hit a lot of the right points. I think he knows what he's talking about. And I agree with a lot of it. So I don't know. I mean, I did also agree with you in that I think it looks really sleek. I think it looks really, it's one of their best looking handhelds, but I also see the similarities in sort of the direction they're going to with their handhelds. I think it looks similar, like the blue that we're getting in the US kind of reminds me of the neon blue from the, Switch controllers or whatever. But I'm just curious to see how many people out there, I don't think anybody out there, if they had a choice to go with the 2DS XL versus the Switch, I don't think they would personally choose the 2DS XL over the Switch, but I do think that it'll cause a lot of confusion for parents and stuff like that in the future.
I have to say though, usually parents at Christmas time tend to go for quantity over quality. This just tends to, because obviously more stuff under the tree. So if you get something that's $150 like that, and then you can get, I don't know, 4 more games for the price of what you would get for the Switch, 4 top tier games, not the lower ones, get a Pokemon, a Mario. That might be more enticing to adults who are buying for their, like I said, 8-year-old kids. But I do think though, if you are, over the age of, I don't know, 16 or whatever their charts say, you want a Switch and you don't want a 2DS XL if you had to take a pick, obviously.
Right, absolutely.
So
and also too, if parents, if they have 2 kids, for instance, 2 8-year-olds, they could get to them 2 2DS XLs versus 1 Switch. They don't have to share it. They don't have to worry about fighting, whatever.
A lot more choice on the 3DS line too. A lot more choice in terms of games.
The library is amazing. Exactly.